Okay, this is pretty interesting. It says open type hybrid hi-fi earphones. And looking at the design, this thing apparently has something called a semi-open backplate. I've tried open back headphones recently and I loved the experience. I loved the open, airy soundstage. So I wonder if this thing in an IEM format can give me something similar. It's the EPZ P50. Let's check it out. I usually like EPZ's presentations. Even if they make entry-level items, they make really good boxes. It makes for a good first impression, which in my opinion is important. That's a solid box. It feels like I'm opening a jewelry set. Okay, those are the earphones, and yeah, they do seem interesting. Like I said, it's not a fully open back thing, it's a semi-open back, meaning that it has a few vents, as you can see. And here's a carrying pouch with a fully open lid. And the cable's pretty nice too, it's well above average. There's a spare connector as well, which means the end connector on this can be removed. We'll check that out in a second. Let's take a closer look at the P50 IEMs themselves. Whoa, that's much smaller than I thought. That's what she said. No, seriously, it's smaller and lighter, even though the shape does remind me of the Kiwi Ears KE4, which in turn reminds me of Handsome Squidward. It does seem pretty lightweight regardless. At first I thought the accessory box cannot be removed easily, but then there's a pull tab. Yeah, I know, I'm a noob. In there you find a couple of pairs of ear tips, a cleaning cloth as well, nice. I'm gonna be using my own ear tips. Actually, the ear tips that I'm gonna be using are also made by EPZ. I use their M100 series, you may have seen this in multiple videos. It's that same latex material that I like and they're super nice as you can see. I don't know if they're still available, but I'll link them down below if I find them. Alright, let's remove these unnecessary plastic peels and take a listen to this, shall we? The semi-open back IEM. The first of its kind, at least for me. And you know what? Yeah, as expected, the top end is a little light and airy, which is a little unusual for an IEM. I do hear the outside noises a little bit more than usual. I mean, you have to listen to it. It's not as apparent as an open back headphone. But again, for an IEM form factor, that's pretty unusual. The bass on these is nice and strong, plenty for my taste, but may not be the absolute king when it comes to that. The bass and mids actually remind me a lot of my Kiwi Ears KE4. It's surprisingly similar to that, which is to say really well balanced. I like it. This may not please the bass heads, but hey, I'm not a bass head. I love these. There's plenty of thump when you need it. If you're loading up some hip hop tracks, yeah, you're gonna feel it. But it will stay in its range and not overpower anything, which is what we expect. The top end is a little weird. Like, yes, in some songs I do notice a bit of airiness, a bit of expansion there. Like with some instruments like the harmonica or maybe the chimes, I do notice the shimmer as I mentioned in one of my previous videos. But it's really subtle, it only shows up in certain tracks. And in comparison, the Kiwi Ears KE4 has nicer, thicker treble that extends further. So these aren't replacing my daily driver, but it's pretty interesting nonetheless. I don't recall hearing such nice airy treble in this earphone form factor. Now while sound-wise I have no complaints, I do have something to cry about when it comes to this replaceable connector. Because oh my god, this thing is so tight. That's what she said. You have to first unscrew this part here, which is fairly straightforward, but the top one has to be pulled apart and that takes a lot of effort on your fingers. It has that 4-pin configuration which we have seen a dozen times, cool, but then reattaching a new connector is just as if not more frustrating. I didn't even see it at first, but there is a marking, which of course I have seen it before, but I forgot that it exists. It barely shows up on camera, that's how fine it is. And even after you align those pins, they are really tight. You have to push it in place. I damn near gave up. I finally managed to slide it in after 20 minutes of struggling. That's what I said. Anyway, once it's in place, I'm not changing this. Like I said, you might as well consider this as non-replaceable. Overall, this thing's a super nice and interesting IEM. There's nothing wrong with it. The bass and mids are good. Upper mids are nicer than the Kiwi Ears KE4 that I use. And the treble, while not as thick as I'm used to, is very interesting and airy, the likes of which I've never heard before in this form as I mentioned. So, I might go in and out of this one in my daily use, mainly because of how slim and lightweight this is, despite being a 5-driver IEM. Now, you know that I don't believe in multi-drivers being always better. I've made my point multiple times, but this does sound good and I'm not mad at that. And you know what, since this is so tiny and lightweight, I'm gonna make this my travel IEM. Whenever I'm outdoors, I'll take this with me. I might pair it with the Big Chungus 9000 cable, what's it called? The Effect Audio Aries S2 or something. That cable is more expensive than this, but I don't know if it needs it. Let's try it. I guess this is the twin brother of the Kiwi Ears KE4, the little boy. That thing's the big boy. I need to stop with the boy jokes because the FBI came to my door the other day. It was scary. Anyways, you let me know what you think of this open back type IEM. It's not exactly cheap or beginner friendly, I would say, but it doesn't sound cheap either. So it's overall worth the purchase, especially if you are getting into an enthusiast territory.